Good evening and warm welcome to all of you to Thrissur Management Association Zoom meeting. Today we are going to discuss on the topic COVID-19, an opportunity for digitally transforming your business. During the meeting, in case you have any clarification or queries, questions, please type your questions in the chat box or raise your hand. We'll take up the question during the question and answer session. Past presence of TMA, managing committee members, members of TMA, invited guests, and members of TMA who is attending the program from other states and abroad. Warm welcome all of you to this meeting. Today, the topic is led by our speaker, R. Vittal Raj, Chartered Accountant from Chennai. I sincerely hope that you are coping well in these difficult times and taking all necessary precautions to stay safe and healthy. For the last many days, our country was completely locked down to prevent the spread of coronavirus and protect our life. It started as a health issue, but now it becomes an economic issue too, affecting the life and livelihood of the human beings. Governments of both central as well state announced various packages to help the industries, help the workers. Many of the industries like aviation, hospitality, and tourism are severely impacted by the coronavirus issue. The war against this invisible enemy, novel coronavirus, is going on. We cannot predict when this battle ends. Almost all industries has been badly affected by the impact of this virus. Since we are under lockdown, we are not able to conduct meetings or gatherings for our members. We started some initiatives to reach our members. Last couple of weeks back, we have published a video on the topic Capital Market on Corporate Creep and Deep into the Future by Chartered Accountant T.S. Anandaraman, who was a past chairman of the former chairman of the CSB Bank Limited and past president of the Thrissur Management Association. That program got appreciation from many of our members. Some members suggested me, please conduct a meeting in Zoom platform so that we'll feel an atmosphere of meeting. This is one of such initiative in that direction. In Wuhan city, lockdown, the city was locked down for 78 days. Sometimes we may continue with more lockdown restriction. The one important aspect is that we cannot move freely as we did earlier. The concept of work from home is the buzzword now. It is very common in the IT industry. But are we prepared for that? Are we equipped for that? It's a big question before us. Whether we have structured our business or suited for that change. What are the risks associated by going online or digital? How to protect vital and confidential data of the client? without compromising to our competitors. Many corporates will have their own IT policy and security systems. Now we are focusing on the small and medium enterprises. They may not have that much robust digital system. After this lockdown, we may face lesser number of customers or people moving around the streets. People may go out only if it is required. Digital transformation is the order of the day. It is all about the survival of the business. Today, we are going to present before you a topic which is essential at this scenario and important for all of us. COVID-19 is an opportunity for digitally transforming your business. The session will be led by information technology expert, none other than Chartered Accountant R. Vittal Raj from Chennai. I know many of our members personally know Vittal Raj, but as sake of formality, I am introducing Vittal Raj before you. Vittal Raj is a consulting expert and trainer in risk assurance for more than 25 years, working in wide range of industry verticals on IT, a strategic advisor to the board and senior management of various entities on cybersecurity, IT strategy, systems and processes and risk management studies, privacy, IT assurance, enterprise risk management and risk-based internal audits. By qualification, Vittal is a chartered accountant, fellow member of ICA. Apart from that, he has lot of degrees from qualification from other institutions also. From ISACA, he has CISA, CAA, CASSP, CSM, and so on. He's also a accredited COVID-5 expert. There are many qualifications in the he's having in the information technology sector. Vittal Raj is a member of RBI's Standing Committee for Cybersecurity and IT Examination and a member of RBI's Cybersecurity Assessment Framework Study Group. Vittal earlier served for 2 terms as International Vice President of and Director of International Board of ISACA, Information System Audit and Control Association, headquartered at Illinois, USA, as well as member of the ISACA International Audit. He has served in various research and technical committees of the Institute of Chartered of India, IEA Florida, ISACA International, ICWA, and so on. Vittal is a founder part of Kumar and Raj Chartered Accountants, headquartered at Chennai, and also director of Pristine Consulting Private Limited, a management and business IC risk, etc. Vittal has served as a visiting faculty and presented a lot of purpose, not only in national level, but also in international level also. He is a visiting faculty of Institute of Chartered of India, Institute of Chartered of Sri Lanka, Comptroller of Auditor General C&AG, Reserve Bank of India, Institute of Internal Auditors, India Police, Cyber Crime Investigation, various banks and so many institutions. And also he has presented papers on IT governance and audit, IT risk management, cyber security, information security, risk management, and many more. Presently, he is the president of ISC 2 Chennai chapter. The list much more. I cut it short. With these few words, I proudly introduce C.R. Vittal Raj before you. I am sure these sessions will be very fruitful and you will gain a lot of insight about how to digitally transform our business. Please stay home, stay safe. Once again, welcome all of you to the Thrissur Management Association's summit. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So it's, as Sony also said, this is going to be a new normal, at least for some more time to come, and changing the very way we thought about our lives, our livelihood, our lifestyle, but a lot of things are going to change. And I think on many of us, for many of us, psychologically and emotionally, it has been a very traumatic experience, which I can understand. Because, you know, we always used to say that maybe we'll spend peacefully at home sometime. Now, we really don't know whether this is peaceful being at home or not a welcome thing being at home. But then certainly one thing is happening. All of us are slowly kind of coming in terms with the reality that this is something which is not much that we can do about it. So of course, the big question, as Sony also said, when will this get over? And there are a lot of predictions, a lot of forecasts, modeling. The Canadian government has told its people, based upon what they call as the epidemiological modeling, that this could go on till the summer of 2021. That sounds scary, but then obviously it's not going to be a lockdown which will go on till that date. The lockdown will be shifted, but then as we know, there is no cure as of now. So we'll have, the only way that if herd immunity at all has to work is we get back and you know, into our society. But one thing is becoming pretty clear. I think we are certain that the future is uncertain. And that is kind of breaking all that we thought was permanent and kind of which was given, and all that is certainly changing. So certainly these are not the most best of thoughts that we would like to have. But then this is where really, you know, such situations make the not so known side within us come out. So as they say, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And that's exactly where, if you really see, on one side, I can completely understand, wherein with each of us significantly concerned about what's going to happen to our lives, our livelihood, our business, the society, our you know, loved ones. There's a big question mark surrounding everything, which is, you know, quite obvious. But then at the same time, if you see, prominent amongst them is the thought also to say that, what are we going to do about our livelihoods? What is going to happen to my professional practice or business or whatever it be, my job? Because things have significantly changed, and some of them may not really go back to as they were before, which is becoming clear. But then as they say, every cloud has a silver lining. So these dark clouds which are surrounding us now, if we start looking, we will see that there is also a brighter side to this. So what is it really that we can call it a brighter side? Maybe a question, you know, if everything is so bad, everything is not good, so what's the brighter side to it? But let us please understand that I'm sure you have read about it, that we had a similar large-scale pandemic across the globe somewhere in 1918. And I guess you would not believe that the pandemic lasted 2.5 years. And it took kind of lives which we cannot even imagine. In fact, Chennai, which was earlier called Madras, India got this virus, which was popularly called as the Spanish flu. And at that time, the people were dying within hours. It was so dangerous because the virus, in fact, there are a lot of logs which the medical professionals have written saying that a robust man gets affected by the virus at 4 p.m. today evening, tomorrow morning, 12 o'clock, he passes away. I mean, compared to all that, I think we are in much, much better shape. Not only that, we have lessons from the past. wherein we should really appreciate the government for having such stringent measures. Otherwise, things could have been very different for our country with the kind of population that we have. And we can see what's happening to the US and what has already happened to several parts of Europe. But then, since whether it's Hiroshima or it is the Spanish flu, all of us as human beings have sprung back, and that's the brighter side of it. And that is there within us. So there are a lot of good things which are good with us still. So we are still the youngest country, as you know, in the world. And we got a huge warehouse of talent, potential talent, which is waiting to be exploited. There would be behavioral shifts and lifestyle changes, which will create many new opportunities. I mean, I could see many of the entrepreneurs or the guys with the entrepreneurial spirit, trying to find how to create beautiful masks, how to make them more interesting, because masks seem to be part of our accessories when we start to go out anywhere. So that itself has created very new kind of opportunities. And if you really look at a firm somewhere in Kerala, if I remember, they had developed a PPE, which generally costs $200 overseas at a cost of just 190 rupees. So I think our entrepreneurial spirit really is what we need to keep alive as entrepreneurs, as management experts. But one thing is very clear. If you listen to some of the greatest stalwarts in business in India, the greatest business leaders, everybody is clear that once all this settles down, we'll have a surge in demand. And in fact, what we did not achieve over this stalemate period could be achieved within a matter of months. And I've been talking to a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business leaders across industries. One thing which I see is majority of them, they are just raring to go, even though everything is in shambles. So we also see that US as the most powerful country is helpless as of now. So which means that there is a radical shift which is happening right across the world in power shifts, which is likely to happen. And we already see that businesses are moving, and there's a lot of new thinking which is coming up to say, well, why not do whatever we thought which could never be done. So we'll see a lot of new perspectives, which will be with regard to the fundamentals of business, which will be men, because I already see that a lot of migrant labor is either stuck or have already gone back to their bases. And we could expect that many of them going back again. So there could be a lot of movements of people, because when it comes to life being threatened, your priorities change. And one of the interesting things which I have noted in this is agriculture is becoming attractive again. Because a lot of these migrant labor, when they go back, they are finding that, it's good to be back in agriculture, and they find that it's much more paying, in fact, as earlier times. So that's a very good positive move. Machines, well, I think this is completely going to change, because already there was a shift last year which started with a lot of shop floor automation. And we are going to only see that, because as I hear from many of the industry leaders, they are only looking at more and more of automation in the shop floor. So because in the coming days, it is going to matter in terms of your global competitiveness. Money, well, that has been a biggest problem. Industry has been going through a turmoil because money has not really been flowing. But then still, as a nation, I think as a business community, we have done exceedingly well in terms of all the challenges that have been there, starting with several of these which have really shaken up the entire economy. I think energy is getting a new definition, as we know that we have been reading that oil is trading at minus. Never expected, but then that's what is happening. Of course, we have not got the advantage because we are on a different benchmark. But then the biggest challenge is that there is no place to store the oil that is being produced. So they are kind of very new kind of challenges. Technology is very much to the fore, because one thing is very clear, that technology is going to be the differentiator in the future. And I'm sure all of us are seeing that work from home, as Sony also said, is becoming the new normal. So this new normal is certainly becoming quite emphatic because we are seeing significant shifts in our thinking. In fact, I have my friend who leads the IT and innovation in a tractor manufacturing major in India. And she was telling me that our accounts department, our operational department has never worked from home. But for the first time, we have been working from home, and a normal day when at office we'll be putting in 8 hours, we are putting in 12 hours. And most of us are enjoying that. So that's again a kind of new normal with a manufacturing setup wherein we'll generally not even think about working from home or working from a laptop. In fact, many of them would not even find it comfortable to do that. But then change is pushing us to do all that. So one thing is going to be very clear, and it is emerging, not only because of the COVID, but from the experience of what has been happening world over since the last couple of years and last about 2-3 years in our own country. One of the key differentiators for this new normal is certainly going to be our businesses becoming digitally agile. And unless and until that happens, we may not only lose out on opportunities, but survival itself could be a question. So what are these differentiators that present to us in this post-COVID era? Certainly we are going to get back, maybe not in a couple of weeks, maybe in a couple of months, or maybe a few more months back to the normal. So that's certainly going to happen, because if you look at history, that's what has happened. That's bound to happen. But then let us count our blessings, if you see. See, there are certain questions that we will have to handle with. So first, let us ask those questions with regard to each of our businesses. The big question that is, I'm sure, in every business person's mind, every entrepreneur's mind is, how do I retain customers? How do we make sure that there is better customer experience once we get back to work? How do we make sure that the customer will not leave us? These are hard questions. The next big question always is that, how will you protect my profits? How do I protect my growth? While we have to be struggling to get back to survival, is it even possible to look at growth? How do we look at in these kind of markets when everything apparently going to be depressed and in recessionary trends? Can we still look at margins? Can we still look at collections? Can we still look at the same kind of operational budgets for expenses? Big questions. Very important also is to say that, is it possible for me to really rework on my business model? Because there have been, we have been doing, if you really look back, when we were busy with our work, we have always been saying we don't find time for thinking about changing gears in our business. How do we reinvent our business? I mean, we should thank COVID-19 because that has given us a great opportunity to sit back and think. And very important is going to be, because as we see, they are not only local shifts, but they are global shifts. And this is certainly an opportunity wherein businesses overseas will be prepared to look at alternatives. And here is where we stand a chance. If we are agile and adapt to the changes in the market, we can be globally competitive. In fact, the sky is the limit if you really look at the kind of opportunities that are coming up. And very important, because these days it is no more the traditional organization structure that really succeeds. It is proven the models of the Googles or the Flipkarts or the Amazons or whatever you call them, it is about team. And team can create wonders. And that's what it has been doing. So we have to really look at, can we shed our traditional thinking if we are still stuck onto that, and look at how do you bring out excellence through teamwork. And of course, very important to work with our partners, with our suppliers, with our intermediaries, with everyone to see how can we really get across all this. But the big question really stands at, how will it be possible to achieve all this, especially given that everything is looking down, everything is not looking good. So these are hard questions that we are facing. Let us see if we have an answer to all this. So looking back, not just the COVID times, there have been more than enough examples in our own country and of course many overseas, wherein startup players who were nobody, that started off as just, nothing, they have stood up against the global bigwigs. And the most quoted example obviously is Amazon.com. As we know that Amazon entered as a bookseller, but then the giants which were there for almost a couple of decades established in their business were the Higginbothams and the Barnes and Nobles. But what did Amazon do? They put technology at the center. And that was a very stupid thing to do in those days, because everybody thought that who will go into the internet and use it for buying something, which was never a possibility. It was always say, no, it can't happen. But then Amazon, with this tiny kind of venture, they said, let's try. And as you might have read in many places, they started with a 800 square feet workplace and with a team of hardly a handful of people, mostly technologists. And they started on setting up Amazon.com to sell books online. And rest of it, is history. And if you really see how Amazon's journey has been from that tiny organization into something which is so formidable today, is something unimaginable. But there is a very important lesson for us there. So what is digital transformation? This is an exact example of how, when you embrace the digital, your business dimensions, the equation completely changes, which traditionally is impossible to really do. So what is it? Simply put, it is nothing but looking at all these amazing technologies, not just the emerging ones, but even the old ones, as simple as the traditional email or a website or whatever, but then you don't look upon them as mere technology, but look upon them as business technology. So you put business first, and then you ask the question, what is it this can do for me? So that is where digital transformation really comes. And there are umpteen number of stories. We'll see some of them where it has completely transformed enterprises from nothing to global leaders. So it is a time to change. It is a time to change mind shifts. Our mindsets, which have been there, need to go into mind shifts. We have had die-hard business habits, wherein we have been always used to certain ways of doing business traditionally and never had the courage to get into something, trying something new. I think this COVID-19 is kind of challenging us to say, you better challenge yourselves. Otherwise, survival could be a big question mark. And believe me, of those of us who have not really adopted the digital, I'm sure some of you have already adopted the digital on your digital journey. But let me tell you, there are a lot of lost opportunities that lie before us. And this is the time to really start thinking very deeply, but systematically, really look at, have I really done something about all these opportunities with regard to my business or my profession? 2018 statistics on internet users in India has put at about 560 million internet users. That's a number which we may not even understand what it means, because in terms of the business potential, what lies in terms of demand, and how some of these organizations have gone about exploiting that. And it is predicted that 2023, it could look up to something like 700 million, but this was prior to COVID-19. Post-COVID-19, this could get accelerated is what experts feel, and we could stand much, much differently from there. The Gen Y and Gen Z, they are very clearly have been away from the traditional. The question is, have our product offerings, service offerings really stood up to their kind of likes and demands? And many of us would have really not really looked at it because we are happy with traditional customers, traditional customer base, maybe not looking at new areas because that has been kept our business going. Would you believe that annually, last year, the digital payments in India alone have been to the order of 24.3 billion rupees. A lot of things have happened in digital India. In fact, silently, the e-marketplace, if I heard about this, the government no more gives any tenders or floating or whatever. It's all through the e-marketplace wherein all tenders are quoted and everything happens electronically. Agriculture has been significantly benefited. In fact, farmers have been significantly benefited through ventures like eNAM. Believe me, if you look at the Mandi app, it has done revolution in the life of many farmers because middlemen were really killing them. And they exactly now know in their vernacular language what is the produce and where it can sell it at what price. UPI, I'm sure many of us, we are already on UPI and we know what kind of convenience it comes, especially when regard to either making payments or even receiving payments from your clients. We never really tried it with regard to a client, but believe me, that's an option which is open wherein you could be in a completely different league altogether. E-government services, we have seen both at state level and the central level. There will be a lot of automation of many of these government services, especially during COVID-19. You're seeing the amount of data that is government is collecting. And I think that's fabulous because the way that the healthcare, the government, everybody is responding using technology is amazing. In fact, they are using drones in several places to deliver life-saving medicines. Most importantly, we have never looked at government as a customer. We always think, oh, government, who will work with them? Believe me, all that has changed. If you look at some of the officers in the government, IAS officers, they're brilliant. They're super brilliant, I must say. They've quietly been doing so much. And it's a joy to work with them. Talent, the Startup India program is bringing out a lot of talent. In fact, have we really ever really looked at the employee who has joined in our organization, who's a youngster and saying, okay, not just an employee or a partner, come on, come up with your ideas and tell me how to change things. And believe me, being tech savvy, these youngsters can completely change the complexion of business. And that is where, if you see the valuation of some of these startups are somewhere for those youngsters who have taken that call to really trade that path. And believe me, what is going to happen with COVID is, I think COVID could see a lot of entrepreneurs being born. You could see a lot of youngsters, a lot of people who have been with employment trying their hand at, why not, let me also start up something. And we'll see that the environment is going to more go supporting on this. And digital transformation is not just for large enterprises, which is generally what many of us believe. Oh, it is for those big companies. It is not really for us. I mean, there's nothing in it for us. No, it's not really so. In fact, the largest beneficiaries of digital transformation would be the MSMEs. And I would be devoting a significant aspect of this, time of this particular webinar to highlight the aspect on MSMEs, because I'm sure many of us fall in that category. So MSMEs, individuals, professionals, believe me, there is a whole world which is waiting for us. And if we did not know, let's put at the size of MSMEs in India. MSMEs contribute close to 30% of the GDP, 50% of the manufacturing, and 48% of exports. So that kind of gives you what's the power that MSMEs hold. And mind you, all this with just traditional business models, traditional technologies, not embracing the digital. Let us please understand, the very nerve center of your business is information. If you get one information on a demand from a new customer somewhere, you win. And if you don't get it on time, you lose. So it's such a simple equation. Let me give you one very good example here, just slightly deviating from what we'll come back to that. I mean, I'm sure we have known this, our traditional postal department. it has been a government organization. We always, thought that what can they do about IT? They are so sluggish. They have always been slow, traditional, a clearly dying model with mere post delivery. Would you believe the kind of digital transformation that this government organization has undergone the last couple of years? It is absolutely amazing. And during these COVID times, they have been able to stand out as that government agency, which has been a helping hand. In fact, for many of them who would otherwise would have no other opportunity for survival. Simple things like, postman delivering cash using AEPS, which is Aadhaar enabled payment systems, a simple gadget which is in their hand, to migrant workers. For example, those stranded in Shillong, they were, served by the postman there. And how did they do that? They made sure that the direct transfers to their bank accounts
Wait for a moment. We are trying to connect with the speaker. Sir, your sound is not. Okay, okay. Wait for a few minutes. Vitara sir is reconnecting. Yes.
are able to see my screen.
Yes.
My
Proceed,
sincere
sir.
apologies.
Yeah.
Some technology glitch.
No problem.
Yeah. So back to this. So not only this, as I said, continuing with this, the postal department in tie-up with the kinds of Blue Dart have been delivering life-saving medicines, all this protection equipment for all the healthcare, people right across the country. So they've been quietly doing all this. Let us look at one more story, which is, I think, should be a kind of inspiration for all of us. It is Walmart. In fact, Walmart has been termed as the dark horse. It was a dark horse and became the leader in the industry, merely riding on digital transformation. And if you really see their story, they started late. They started small and they started with very less. It was the same story as Amazon. But now they have beaten Amazon, or almost on the verge of beating Amazon. How did they do that? They adopted digital transformation and innovation as the core of their business strategy. In fact, they have been achieving the last couple of years, 50 years, year-on-year growth. And they have been doubling their customer loyalty. And how did they do that? They looked at every technology and said, what can this technology do for me and my stakeholders? In fact, their mobile app is considered to be revolutionary because it not only just like any other app does that, but it immediately connects back to see if there is a shelf stock is there. If not, then see that within the lead time, can it be fetched directly from the supplier? So it's a kind of intelligence driven system, which just on a mobile app connecting to the rest of your stuff, they did that. So there is a seamless real-time customer relationship management software. In fact, they put their entire inventory on blockchain. Why did they do that? Because they looked at every customer complaint with regard to quality of perishables, with regard to availability of perishables, because as you will understand, perishables has a very, very short shelf life. They were able to completely look at this, and they were able to tie up in such a fashion that the order would get placed and delivered without losing freshness with regard to the shelf life and delivered to the customer. So this is again, amazing as such. Of course, their slogan has always been, they looked at data as the competitive edge. In fact, most of our organizations are sitting on tons of data. Even if you're small, you got a lot of data with us, but we never really care, because mind, if you start really analyzing the data, you could get some new ideas. And they have a slogan. They said, people want a digital experience. And that was out of surveys. And that's what Jeremy King, the CEO of Walmart, said, that our people want a digital experience. So we have to stand up to what they want. And if you see on the right-hand side of your screen here, there's one of the latest stores of Walmart. And believe me, everything here is completely technology driven. You got visual AI. The moment the customer enters, he's recognized by the visual AI technology. It immediately transfers back and he gets the message saying, hey, last time you bought this, you are looking for this. It is in self number so-and-so, and there is an offer on this. So you're actually, where a person would buy only one packet, you make him buy 3 packets. The customer benefits by a discount. The organization gets a good margin. While this may sound to be a little tall order for this, but it's more of an inspiration. That's why I took this particular. But for us, I think we have to really sit down and methodically take stock of our digital life. In fact, today, if you see, whether we like it or not, whether we are traditional or not, whether we are tech savvy or not, there is certainly some element of digital in all our lives, and we cannot miss it. So the question really is, can we really look at what are the missed opportunities for our business when it really comes to handling the digital? So let us look at MSMEs. MSMEs hold a huge advantage because they are small, they can be agile, and they can adapt quickly. So let us look at the life of an MSME. You're looking at marketing and business development, sales, inventory and logistics, purchase and manufacturing, liquidity and credit, payments, accounts and compliance. But there are 2 more things which we'll discuss later. But in each of these areas, there have been problems, and we kind of have made up our mind saying that, okay, these are given problems, these cannot change. We have to live with them. And we only use our traditional methods of managing these problems. But believe me, in our country, single entrepreneurs, small businesses, some of them have realized what this can do for them with regard to adopting technology and completely change the way that they really look at it. Take marketing, business development. I mean, the first and foremost thing, I'm sure you have an email ID, an enterprise email ID, and of course, WhatsApp is so popular, any messaging system. So that kind of forms a lifeline of today, most of the businesses, especially small businesses. But then the question always is, do you have a website? Because believe me, how does the world know that you exist? In fact, there is a small organization. Actually, the person started by selling saris from home. And all this person did was took the initiative, hired a professional website developer, created creative models of how customers would look at mere things like saris or garments, and was able to attract so much that in the first year of setting up the website, and which is integrated into a payment system and e-commerce, this person saw a jump in the business, you won't believe, by 400% 1 year. Because the way that he presented some of this and the kind of stuff that he was able to market, which was not picked up by the local market, found customers in UK, in Europe especially. He's very popular. Well, there is a kind of trend possibly towards these saris or whatever, God knows what. But this guy picked up a lot of orders from the Europe and all. So this is just one example. So you got a lot of tools, email, messaging tools. Website, of course, makes a difference. Listings. We think listings don't really matter. Listings matter a lot. If you simply list yourself on one of those yellow pages or whatever on the net, it can make a huge difference. A simple thing like putting your organization on the Google map. Somebody is looking for, let us say, whatever business you are in. Let us say you're running a restaurant and they want to say, what are the nearest eat out places? Believe me, if you're there registered on Google, which is free, as you know, the basic listing, you immediately know, oh, I am hungry. What are the nearby eating places? And then you give a rating, then you become popular. And that's how you see many of these eateries have grown. Not just eateries, it applies to any business. If you're a chartered accountant, somebody is looking for a chartered accountant business and they say, okay, I need an accountant. So they can immediately find them there. Okay. Of course, all that has to be subject to the code of conduct of the profession. Needless to say that. Sales, well, today you know that GST has completely changed the way that business works. As of now, it looks painful. Yes, I agree. But believe me, GST, once it settles down, is going to completely change the fortunes of many MSMEs. Because there is still this mindset of saying that, hey, somehow save on taxes, somehow save on compliance, don't pay GST. That is an instinct which is going to be killing the initiative. In fact, compliance today is a very important business advantage. And that can completely transform the way you look at business, because once you don't have to really think about managing so much of stuff which is, not legal. So that really kind of puts you on a steadfast foot. Inventory and logistics, there are a lot of tools available, and believe me, many of them can automatically send messages directly to your suppliers to say that this is running out, start, delivering. So a lot of things. I'm not going to the details of each and every one, but there are lots and lots of technologies which are available today, and you can find a whole lot of them through experience on the internet. Take, for example, liquidity and credit. Today, it's so easy to find out various options of, what kind of credit is available where. And especially when you go to a bank, which is a traditional option, and they say, unless you have a collateral, I'm not going to entertain you. But then you need money badly. There are a lot of options, especially if you look at the startups, the fintechs, they offer excellent options, believe me. Payments, of course, we still go by checks. We still go by bank transfers. Believe me, there are much better ways of enhancing the payment experience, because your treasury, your cash management can improve phenomenally. Accounts and compliance, I would think, is one of the fundamental aspects of MSME business growth, because it is like the dashboard to your business performance. And if you don't have the dashboard working properly, you don't know where you're going. So accounts and compliance is, I think, you got a lot of tools. In fact, a lot of accounting software is there. I'm sure many of you are users of Tally, but believe me, we don't even use part of the features of Tally. And Tally can actually turn around your business in a way that for a MSME, the ERP can really kick in and do a lot of wonders, which many organizations have experienced. Then, of course, two aspects which we never really looked at in the past, which is customer experience and insights. We didn't even know as MSMEs what this means, but believe me, it can completely transform. So if you look at a lot of free tools which are available on the internet, or there are a lot of startups which can help you using machine language and analytics, it can completely change the way you look at market. A simple, insight into what a customer is looking for in terms of the emotion of the customer today matters. And that's what, if you see, it's a big billion-dollar business across the world. Data analytics is a huge, huge business across the world. And again, not to forget the important lessons. Of course, this is the best time to transform your business, as I said, digitally. But you got to embrace the digital. So we got to go a whole lot to change our mindsets and say, how can we do this? and not look at technology as mere technology, but ask this question as a business entrepreneur, what is in it for me? So if you look at something as a very, I mean, you know, the kind of innovation that using WhatsApp, many of these small entities are doing is amazing. Using groups, using WhatsApp, the way that they manage their business is absolutely wonderful. So you can do a lot with that. There are a lot of online tools, many of them free, which can be very well used for the business. Of course, there are some very good paid tools as well, online software, which you can subscribe to and use. And you got to look at employees as partners because they are tech savvy and they can come up with some fantastic ideas. If not any of this, you can look at, in fact, partnering with startups to improve your business or the industry as such, because you have the business knowledge. You tie up with a startup, you bring in a business technology, which can be a killer technology, and believe me, that can transform the enterprise. Or you could simply invest in startups. And this is the right time to diversify. Yes, as we know that some of the verticals like tourism, transportation, all this is going to get big time hit in the coming months. But it is not that this will not pick up again. This will pick up later on. It's obviously going to be much bigger later on. But this is the time to test out what your customer really wants. Build it into your business model using technology and see that they get a very, very different experience. And there are a lot of startups like pickyourtrail.com is another startup which has done a complete miraculous way of really looking at planning holidays. And they kind of completely analyze your preferences and suggest a holiday. Hey, oh, okay, this is what we think will fit you. So option A, option B, option C, which takes into preferences of where you would like to stay, what kind of food you eat, what is your preference for your destinations. This is something which is traditionally never done by the travel business. So there are a lot of things that can be completely looked at in a new way. So coming back to those traditional questions, I think now you look at, there are technologies which can help you. It is not necessary that tomorrow morning you have to start off big. No, you can start with a phased kind of saying, okay, what are my top 3 priorities? And look at, can technology solve this problem? And let us say that I am the kind that I hate technology or I am afraid of technology. You can take the help from a lot of youngsters who are there in the market, consultants, management consultants who are technology savvy. A lot of them, you'd find they'll be able to help you with this. Okay, so if you look, you will see opportunities. Of course, large firms will benefit from launching digital technology programs, transformation programs for their partners and MSMEs, because that's going to in turn benefit the large industries. And that already many of them have sent up vendor portals for customers, excuse me, B2B portals, which completely transform that. So it all ties up into their ERP. A lot of large organizations have already done that. In fact, in South, the manufacturing industry is going in for a huge transformation since last 2 years. There is a lot of shop floor automations already happening. The way that they handle maintenance efficiently, the way that they handle employee rostering, employee efficiency, employee upgradation, all that is really happening. Now, we may ask, okay, I'm a professional, I'm a chartered accountant, I'm a management consultant. Is there anything for me? In fact, professionals like us are going to be the strategic catalysts for change, wherein we help the business to develop the confidence of the digital, and also very importantly, secure the digital experience, because cybersecurity is a big challenge today. That is very important, as Sony also highlighted in the initial part of his talk, because we need experts to see that the security is built, because without security, without a strong foundation, your building can fall anytime. So it's very important to make sure it is secure. And as I said, again, repeating that, compliance is the pillar for robust growth. If we are tied to the traditional mentality of saying that, no, I don't want to pay taxes, I think we are actually on a regressionary trend. We will not grow. It is very important to keep compliance on top. That, believe me, organizations have experienced this, wherein they have changed the mind shifts. Growth has been so free-minded. They have been able to try out so many new things. Insights and intelligence should be looked upon as a business function and not merely just as, another also ran. So that is not going to work. And it is very important that all this happens through a very well thought out business strategy, which is for the digital, and it should have a long-term vision. And obviously it should take into consideration not only that the business strategy is for the digital, but the digital is also there for the business strategy. So it's a kind of interspersed kind of concept. So coming to the last slide that I have, so what are the takeaways from this? I would think that COVID-19 is a never before opportunity for us to transform our businesses. Digital transformation starts with a mindset change. So I think once our mindset is changed, we can be globally extremely competitive, but we need to move our narrow thinking from profits alone to empathy, which means we look at what the customer needs, become customer centric. Profits will automatically flow, because it'll not only get you profits, but it'll get you such a kind of customer base that you can actually be in the business forever. So the focus has to be on customer experience, collaboration, rehashing the business model, and making sure we seize every opportunity that technology provides, making it work for business. And as I said, all this needs a well thought out strategy. And when I say strategy, it is not some big word. You need to just think through, because it cannot be a soda bottle fish syndrome. You start now and you get back to old ways of doing things. It's not going to work. It has to be a very sustained strategy, and that can certainly see the benefits in the medium to long term. As I said, it needs disciplined approach for handling the continuous chaos and disruption that we are undergoing now, and which would certainly come in the future for some months to go. But believe me, this is the time to keep your customers warm, your suppliers also happy, because many organizations think that no, make one reason or other, don't pay the supplier now. No, it's not going to work, because good suppliers are hard to get. So it is important that we keep these relationships alive. And all this, believe me, has to be data driven. And that is where I think the digital transformation can completely transform quite a lot. With this, I'm kind of done. Just to stop with this, which I always believe is very, very enlightening. It says that this is from Bhagavan Ramana Maharishi, who was a very celebrated philosopher. And he always used to say that your own self-realization is the greatest service you can render to the world, which I can completely sits with our thinking, because if we know what we are doing and what we are capable of, I think we certainly can contribute a whole lot. I'll stop here for any questions. Thank you so much for your time and hearing. Over to you, Sony. Sony, you're on mute.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Vittal sir. It was an excellent presentation. After hearing the Amazon and Walmart, we are all thinking of taking this opportunity to grow in such a size, especially the percentage. Now I think we have time to take some questions. Those who are having some queries or clarification or questions, please either make in chat box or raise your hand, so that we will give you the opportunity to present your questions. Vedgopal sir, do you have any questions? Our past president, V. Vedgopal sir, is attending. Sir, have you any questions?
Vedgopal sir, your mic is on mute. Yes.
Yeah. See, it was a beautiful talk. I really enjoyed listening to you, and after seeing you for a long time.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure.
And you spoke so well with Mr. Vittal Raj. You spoke so well. Really, because we are all sitting idle at home, closing down, and now it's really these type of talks will really motivate us and educate us, and I appreciate. Wonderful lecture. I have no questions to you, because we heard what you're telling, a lot of information.
Thank you.
Any other questions, please?
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
I got a question, Sony.
Yeah. Please.
See, my question is very simple. That is, India is in the forefront as far as digital technology is concerned. We have got giants like TCS, Infosys, Wipro, etc. But still, this is no politics. Still, technologically, I like to know the answer. Still, the Kerala government has gone to an American firm just for COVID data analysis. Is it because the technology is not available with us, or is it because of some other reasons?
Sir, I unfortunately would not have the answer because I don't know the context of what really happened in that, why they have gone in for this. So from a technological point of view, I need to understand the context of what really prompted them to go. So my sincere apologies on this particular question. This is so specific to a particular entity. I'm not able to answer that. But just to broadly answer you, we have all the technologies, generally speaking. So, but it can sometimes be based upon the experience and modeling. So we don't know what exactly inspired them to do, go in for a particular entity.
Colonel. In this particular aspect, I think what Vitaraj sir is told is absolutely correct, because we don't know the context in which the government entered into this contract and all. So we'll take a few more questions. As of now, around 45 participants attended this webinar, and many of them are given their feedback. It is an excellent session, information packed.
Thank you, Sony.
Yeah. Any other questions? We have some more time. Now Vitaraj sir is with us. It is very difficult to get him for the programs.
My pleasure.
So make use of the opportunities. My humble request to all of you. Even though he is talking on technical subject, he will talk to in our language. He will make the subject very similar. Some years back, when we conducted a SME conclave along with the Madras Management Association, we got 4 speakers for that program. The program was conducted at Casino. The post-lunch session was Vitaraj sir, and he got maximum feedback on that particular SME conclave. This happened in the year 2011.
I mean, it is all the kind wishes of all the members. Thank you so much.
One of my members, Teddy, is attending from Hyderabad. Do you have any question, Teddy Abraham? Past Trustee of TMA. Raju is there.
I know it's a kind of a different topic. So, questions may not be many, but I'm sure, I hope it helped everyone. Of course, if you have any questions, you can always write to me. You can get in touch with me. I'll be happy to respond.
Yeah, in future, you might have some questions or queries.
Sure.
Vitalraj sir email ID is rvitalraj@gmail.com. In
Tony, I
case you
think
are,
there's a question. Tony, I think somebody is asking one question, one Bimal Sudhir.
okay,
It's like, thank you for the talk. As we all know, countless business is going to be a new norm. Being from a food industries, I would like to know whether there are any consultant or government entities for advising small businesses. This is a question which has been posted by Bimal Sudhir.
Okay,
Mr.
very
Viral,
good
if you
question.
have any answer.
Yeah, very good question. In fact, it's a very good question. First of all, the government itself, actually, in January, they announced a digital MSME program. In fact, you won't believe this program was exclusively to help MSMEs with their digital onboarding and experience. In fact, it is still being set up, and it's a 200 crore venture, wherein if you simply search for digital MSME gov.in, you will get that detail. Because the site is still not up because they were just planning it in January. It is the program was supposed to actually have got kicked off before March, but then all this happened, and we know what happened. Not only that, to help out the MSMEs, especially with embracing these new technologies and also helping them with their business model, a 10,000 crore fund was supposed to be set up. So that is something which is phenomenal, I would think. So I would think that if you can write to the MSME department, you would be able to get that, or you simply just search for digital MSME and the MSME contacts. You would be able to write to them. The government certainly has a lot of support incentives and programs. In fact, they train. There are training programs which government conducts for training entrepreneurs in MSMEs with the digital. So how to use the digital technology. In fact, there are a lot of workshops which are conducted. Not only that, in CII, there is a program called Tech Saksham, TECHSAKSHAM. Tech Saksham is a CII venture again, and they conduct a lot of training and workshops which are conducted in various cities across India, wherein they train again MSME on practical how to use certain technologies, what they can use with regard to their business. So there is a lot of training which is given to them. I'm sure you will find one with regard to the food industry. Food industry, mind you, the the Swiggies and the Zomatos and the Ubers, everybody has changed the way that the food industry operates, and especially during these times, I think they are also looking at so many different ideas. In fact, you might have heard about the cloud kitchen, which was to be, I think, set up by Amazon or somebody. So which was kind of going to be big fanfare again, wherein the cloud kitchen was a concept. There are a lot of new things which are happening, and there is certainly a place for everyone with that technology. So I would think that you can certainly reach out to these people, and they should be able to help you out. I don't know about consultants in Kerala, but I'm sure Sony they can help you out with any consultants in Kerala as such. Hope that helps.
Hello. 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 Hello.
I think
Hello. I got one more question, if you permit me.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
See, you said this program is very, very useful to MSMEs, which I tend to agree.
Yeah.
But as far as MSME is concerned, there are three categories, M, S, and M. That is the medium level industries, there is no problem. They have got the wherewithal, they have got the technology, people, everything. But for the small and micro people, micro industries, I find the wherewithal is not there, and most of them are one-man oriented, and they have got very little technological backgrounds. With that, is it required to have much more awareness among them? What are we doing for that?
Very, very good point. Yes, in fact, most of it is a mindset problem, because it is like the first time when you saw the mobile, you didn't know how to use it. I mean, for a person who has never exposed to technology. But then all of us, whatever we are, irrespective of our backgrounds and whatever talent we have or we don't have, whether you're tech savvy or not, today at least we are with the minimum features of the mobile phone very comfortable. Not only that, in fact, I have seen that there are a lot of youngsters from very remote places who are very, very competent, very, very agile in using the various features of smartphones in vernacular language. So there are 2-3 barriers which come in. One is the language barrier. Another thing is the technology mindset barrier. Now, all this, as I said, there are programs which are now being planned by the digital MSME program. Not only that, FICCI is already conducting programs for creating such kind of awareness. So if you may probably contact the local Kerala chapter of FICCI, they should be able to tell you what kind of programs are available. And just to give you one insight, even the middle industry, the kind of the large players within the MSME also, there's an endless possibility through which they can really broach all this, because most of them, I know that they are only with some basic technology. But if you really look at the possibilities, they are tremendous. But as you rightly said, the problem is of creating the awareness and making them know that things like GIST exist. So that is what the government had actually planned in January, and they had set up all the blueprint. But I guess it should take off maybe once things start settling down. Hope that answers your question, sir.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, there's one more question which is here. I just want to read out the question. It's by
Yes, sir.
Ratish. It is by Ratish. What are the post-COVID opportunity or threat for education and infrastructure sectors?
Oh, very good question again. See, education, as we all are clear, this webinar wouldn't have happened but for COVID, I would think, because sitting here and doing something would not have been a natural option for us. So in fact, I'm sure you are aware that most of the schools have already gone online. The classes are online. The kids are doing all that from home. Not only that, even otherwise, if you see, there have been a lot of options which I never really looked at. For example, sites like EDX, Coursera, they offer some fantastic certificate programs from the top universities across the world. Most of them are free, except that you have to pay for a certificate if you want it. And they train you with the best of the faculty from the likes of Harvard and Stanford and all of them. So some of the top universities in the world conduct these programs. Not only that, if you go to IIT, there is a program called NPTEL and the Swayam.in. They conduct some excellent free of cost trainings on some of the best kind of things that are useful for students at various levels. So there are a lot of opportunities actually. I think the only what this COVID is going to really do is 2 things it is going to do. One, of course, make us more conscious about the kind of opportunities that are available. 2, I think it will also bring in an employer acceptability, because today we look at whether you have a graduate degree or whatever, because most of it anyway is only for entry point, doesn't really matter with regard to skills. So I think many of the employers after all this would be more keen to look at, okay, have you done this online? So I know that this is good. So you would have the skill. I think that could weigh in as I think possibly an opportunity in the coming days. So that could happen. I think the second part was infrastructure. So maybe when you say infrastructure, what exactly, if you could just highlight what it means, then I can kind of try to expand on that.
Anyway, I think Ratish is not there. He has just put a question over here saying infrastructure sector, generalizing everything. So
okay, I'm not sure what that really means, because infrastructure is, digital infrastructure. You have the national.
No, I think he's been mentioning about the other ones, real estates and other constructions and all this infrastructure.
Yeah,
surely not on digital.
Yeah, then I think if you really look at the pace of construction activity from the government side was anyway on, but obviously COVID and all post-COVID, it is certainly going to be not so significant, intense in the coming days, at least till things start settling down, or possibly they might find out certain different ways of at least taking up certain, some small works. But I guess large projects would have to wait till things settle down, because we cannot risk lives of people. and especially the workers, they may not be conscious of certain factors, so they may get into trouble. So in fact, technology is playing a significant role because today most organizations come out with apps, including the government, wherein they, using that app, they inform them of work opportunities, whether work is available, whether they need to come. So all that is happening through apps. So I guess, yes, infrastructure sector will certainly suffer for some more time to come, but obviously it will take off in a very big way is what I feel once things settle down.
Vittal sir, many of the MSMEs are working in lesser number of employees.
Yeah.
So how to start with the digital transformation in the small, medium enterprise?
Okay.
Whether they need to go for any cloud-based storing of data, some data analytics, how they can go further.
Okay.
Can you just elaborate about that?
Yeah, sure. So I think I'll possibly divide a question into two parts to say, A, with the, a lean staff strength, how can I undertake all this? In fact, it's linked up to one of the earlier questions. If you think that you got people who are tech savvy, it could, of course, youngsters, many of them, they are basically tech savvy, but they may not be aware, they may not be exposed. It will be certainly good at this time during the lockdown, ask them to do programs which would be of useful to the enterprise, to the business of the enterprise. So that can, certainly make them think and exchange views on that. They can also be guided by consultants who can help them to say what could be good for them. In fact, even the auditors can help them to understand, what would benefit their business and all. So I guess, in fact, the big myth that digital transformation will take away jobs. No, it will actually bring back many new jobs. Only thing is the job will not be the same as what we were doing now, because that will be completely different. It will be more of thinking jobs, and that will be more interesting in the days to come. Because worldwide, if you really see, the digital transformation is only increasing opportunities, it is increasing the size of businesses. It is bringing in a lot of employment to people. So that's very much happening. Walmart is a very clear example of how that is happening. In fact, Walmart can plan a store within no time, and they have the electronic means to get people, hire people, bring them to the place online within a very, very restricted time frame. So having said that, now coming to the second part, would technologies like cloud be useful? Yes, certainly, because see, now you have online ERPs, which are ERP as a on the cloud, which is available. You got CRM on the cloud, which is available. You got Salesforce.com. You got a whole lot of, I mean, there is a world of options which is available there. Some of it is free, but you will have to pay for some of them. But I would think you have to look like you have to look at it like a business investment rather than a cost alone. And there has to be also certain awareness about security issues, because when we go to the cloud, you have to understand it is like putting your child in the creche. So it is with all the kids, the kid will also be there, and you may not get full transparency to how the kid is being treated inside. So that is a problem with the cloud model. But I think there are enough security mechanisms which we have to ensure are done properly. So it's more of discipline. If we do that, I think with that, the entire business can be managed very well and at very less additional skill requirement or whatever of that sort. So you may not really need that. Not only that, I also want to tell you, like the virtual CFO, we've got virtual CIOs who are available today. So who can certainly help, in how to go about the strategy, etc., etc. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, sure, sir. One more question that is regarding the Zoom itself.
Yeah.
Many of them are saying that Zoom is not secure or something like that.
Yes.
Whether this is the same for other online applications, or whether anything has to be taken care while using the Zoom.
Good question. See, anything that is suddenly becoming popular, you will certainly have security issues. And obviously, if you are running that business and if your market share is going to go away, you will do everything to get it back again. So Zoom, that's what they are in. They never expected this kind of growth. And I think they would be the first to thank COVID. And the kind of, I mean, you would have seen in this market when all the shares are falling, their share has gone up like anything. And their turnover has gone up like anything. I mean, automatically we see that, in fact, in terms of features, I must say that we did a reasonable research. In terms of features and the kind of agility of the software, Zoom is really good. There are some which come near, but then for us Indians, you know, cost matters, and many of them are very expensive. But on security, believe me, others also have one or more security issues. It is not that they do not have security issues. It is only that Zoom security issues become big because when you're growing, obviously press likes you, right? So they will obviously make sure that even if there is something, one fault with you, they will want to make it big. So yes, even WebEx has security issues, GoToMeeting has security issues, but not as many as Zoom, I would think. But then if you see, Zoom has been proactive in correcting quite a lot of that. It is, I would think, for the time being pretty decent to do so, except that if you have very sensitive office meetings, you may want to adopt some other method. But everything that's online, it is like walking on the road. So it is as safe as that. So, so digital highway is the same. When you go on the digital highway, there are risks. So that's how it works.
Okay, one more question is there.
Yeah.
This is regarding the manufacturing sector.
Yeah.
Earlier they pile up the inventory because that point of time they are not worried about the carrying cost, etc., and so on.
Yeah.
In this post-COVID scenario,
Yeah.
whether this MSME or small enterprises can use some inventory management tools like for ABC analysis, something like that, Tally, something like that.
No doubt about it, because as I said, there are a lot of today marketplaces. For example, India Mart is there, or there are a lot of similar marketplaces. Now, what happens is, believe me, as of now, you would know that the exports are still going on. The ports are working, so there is shipments going out with regard to the exports. So if you are in anything that is related to exports and you may not have a direct market, you may always find some buyer B2B through many of these portals, and you would be able to get that. So there are very much tools and capabilities wherein you can go and find options. Not only that, you never know who is looking for the product that you have, and they'll be more than happy to immediately place an order and book it, and maybe pick it up later on once all this becomes normal. So there are a lot of, possibilities are unlimited. It's only as limited as our thinking. That's what, as some of the greatest leaders have said. So I would think that we keep on looking, you would find an opportunity.
Thank you, Vitor sir. It was an excellent presentation in this difficult time, challenging time. We are all here to hear the eminent faculty, Vitor Raj from Chennai. We really enjoyed the session. Before winding up the session, any more questions? If no more questions, we'll go for the vote of thanks by our Honorary Secretary, Sijo Ponu. We will come back to you with more type of this program in Zoom, and we'll let you know the date of the programs and topics. So may I request Sijo to propose vote of thanks.
Yeah, before I propose vote of thanks, I think there's a last question, Ajit. Vital, I
Sure.
hope you don't mind answering.
No,
This is from it is from Ajit. We
Sure.
have read reports that patients of the hospitals have gone down by 75%. What is the post-COVID effect on medical sector? will the general public be into doctors or video call service?
Oh, excellent question. In fact, in fact, we work with a medical global major, and what they are developing, in fact, not only them, many of the large healthcare industry, healthcare businesses are doing that. What they're doing is they are creating a complete, a kind of internet health platform. So let me just give you an example. See, today the big problem is, like, let us say somebody is in a small village and there is a local doctor maybe in the nearest town. And if this person is suffering from some particular problem, there are two problems which he has. A, the local doctor may not have the talent for that particular issue, or it may be a specialization. B, there will be no diagnostic facilities available. C, if they have to go to a doctor in the city, it is almost like a 2 or 3 day, travel, because they have to go there, wait for the doctor's appointment, and then seek an appointment. In fact, in many cases, people come to the cities only to take an appointment. That's how it was earlier. All that has changed. So today what's happening is, in fact, the latest platform that has been introduced by one of the health majors is that if, let us say, there is a local doctor and he is not able to diagnose a particular problem, the expert from a city, a doctor, a specialist, or from a university, not only in India but even overseas, would be available on the platform, wherein he can study the images of whatever. For example, he took an ECG and he creates an online patient health record which contains all this data. So he can look at that and advise what is the next course of action to take and what is the immediate remedy till the next course of action is taken. So that is something life-saving in a way. Not only that, imagine the cost to the patient. It comes down like anything. I mean, there are many people who cannot afford very good health care. So this changes the very complexion of that. Not only that, another very important thing which is happening is there are also diagnostic centers being set up by this particular unit in tie-up with the medical equipment manufacturer in certain hubs. So while earlier, let us say a person who is in a very remote village, let us say somewhere in maybe in, let us say, the Thrissur district or somewhere, and he has to go all the way either to Thrissur or Ernakulam or Trivandrum. Today, what they are doing is they are setting up these hubs within a kilometer range. So a radius of, let us say, 50 kilometer or maybe 100 kilometers. So as compared to the difficult travel, and sometimes patient may not even be able to travel, so they can now travel to the nearest diagnostic hub to take those tests. All these tests are digitally compatible and get uploaded onto that platform. So the doctor, the moment the scan is done and the results are uploaded to the platform, which can be done using a normal smartphone, okay? And the doctor who could be traveling somewhere in the city can completely analyze that and give an expert opinion. In fact, surgeries are getting booked very quickly using that, wherein the patient doesn't have to really bother too much and they can get all this done, or they get referred to the nearest hospital where the particular surgeon would be available. So this has been there developing for quite some time. Now in COVID times and post-COVID, I think this will pick up like anything, because already if you see a fantastic job is being done by various governments, including I think the Kerala government, wherein remote advice is being offered by doctors, and that is really helping a lot in terms of, especially where quarantined patients are there, or whatever help that is required for them with regard to any medicine. In fact, in Tamil Nadu, if you just tweet immediately, in fact, the health secretary personally takes that tweet and immediately guides to see. For example, one person said, my mother is caught up in somewhere in Tanjore district, and she doesn't have life-saving medicines for the next day. So you won't believe, with just one tweet, next day the medicine was delivered to her at that place. So a lot of things are possible, and now we know that they are possible. So this could become the new normal very much. Hope that answers your question.
Yes, Vital Raj, I think it has answered almost everybody's queries also. Thank you. Let me get into the official part of thanking everybody. First of all, let me thank Sony for making this arrangement. The first webinar meeting of TMA, I think it was an excellent section. We had about 44 members listening to Vital Raj, the excellent orator who went in slides and very professionally you display the whole thing. And of course, it's a disruption in all business. And I think you made it sound so easy for us that we can all come out of it. I like to thank Ajit also for helping Sony to set the whole webinar meeting very effectively. We had everybody in the meeting. That I think. Thank you, Ajit. Chobi is also who's been assisting us for coordinating this meeting. Let me thank them, and of course all the members who were here for the meeting. Very fruitful, very good discussion. As you said, we had not just 14 days, we had more than 21 days to sit down, think about a lot of activities. We have come out with a lot of ideas, and with your thoughts, I think it has boosted me up some more thoughts into my business. Thank you, Vital Raj, personally from my side, and I, of course, from TMA side also. I'd like to thank everybody for listening to Vital Raj. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Tony?
Thanks, Ijo. Thanks everyone for this opportunity.
Thank you. With this, we come to end of this virtual session, Zoom meeting, and we'll come back again with more program like this. Thank you.